Good afternoon, it's Mike Scott from Goodwin Building Better Opportunities. Today I'm just going to do a short talk on CVs and give you a few ideas on how to write a decent CV. There is information online, there are quite a few templates available and do's and don'ts, so if you have got the internet, then you might want to look a bit more deeply into this. I'm just covering the basics just to give you an idea. Okay, so what sort of things do we need to consider? Well, the first thing you need to think about is the past employment that you've been involved with. So looking at different jobs, try and remember what dates you were there, what your role was, name of the company, the address of the company, etc. So when you go into details about what your role was, think about the key points in that job. You don't need to go to the far end of everything. Just some of the main points relating to that role. And importantly, try to tie that in with the job that you're applying for. Okay, so next up we're looking at qualifications. Now qualifications, obviously you might have attained those at school, or you might have gone to college in later life, or indeed you might have got qualifications when you were in work. So the important thing is to write down what the qualification was, the title, where you attained it, what the dates were, starting off with the most recent and then working back. So you'd probably be finishing off at qualifications at school, if indeed you got qualifications at school. Alright, so the next thing we think about after that, you obviously need to think about the details of the school and the college, etc. But moving on from there, we're looking at a personal profile. So all CVs start with a personal profile, and this doesn't have to go on very far in terms of the information that you give. It's just about a quite punchy summary of you as an individual. You know, what makes you tick, what your key skills are. If you haven't been in work, think about things that you've done in your life. Like if you're in a football team, you know, that involves team playing, it involves good timekeeping, organisational skills, discipline, etc. So think about things like that. Okay. Next up, we're looking at key skills. So key skills are something that are specific to you that you think would be useful for in when applying for that job. So it could be something like, you know, you're experienced in forklift driving, you're good at writing reports. Again, link it in to the job. There's no point in putting something about forklift driving if you're applying for an admin job. So it's common sense really. So try and think about what skills you can draw on and put in your CV for the job that you're applying for. Okay. Next up are hobbies and interests. Again, try to, if you can, link in your hobbies and interests with the job that you're going for. Okay, so try to demonstrate that you've got certain skills that can be used in that job. Skills that you use in your hobbies and your interests. Okay, so again, if you're applying for a job working with young people, it might be around, you know, you're interested in running a sports project for young people or something like that. Whatever your hobbies happen to be, try again to tie them into what the job is. Okay, don't worry too much about that, but it is worth trying to tie that in with the relevant post that you're applying for. Importantly as well, with any job, it's good to have references on hand. Now, a lot of people, when they do CV, they will put references available upon request, which is okay. But what you need to think about is when you've got, if you're an employer and you advertise a job, you're going to have a big pile of CVs from applicants, and if you're pushed for time, you're going to want a reference pretty much straight away, a referee rather. You want the details as quickly as possible. So if you can give the details of referees on your CV, that's far preferable to putting details available upon request. Okay, so when you get references for your CV as well, it's just polite to ring up the referees and just ask them if it's okay to put them on your CV. Okay, and 99 times out of 100 they'll say yes. Right, so just moving on from there. So think about who you're sending the CV to. So if you are just doing sort of speculative letter, then you need to think about, you know, the type of CV that you've written that will accompany that letter and which job you're going for. So in my case, I've got about 3 or 4 different CVs for different types of job, and I would recommend that you do the same. So you might have one for a training post, you might have a more generic one, You might have one for more manual work. Whatever your experience is, it pays you to write a few different CVs. And what you can do is you can keep the basic details there about your qualifications, work experience, and so on, but it will pay you in the long run to just alter certain facets of each CV and try to tailor it more to the job that you're applying for. Okay, right, what else have we got here? So, also, why are you sending the CV to them? So, if you're sending CVs out to employers, then some employers will ask for a CV, some won't. So when you do send a CV out, make sure that you're not replacing it. Sorry, you're not just sending a CV as opposed to making a job application. Because some employers will only accept a job application and they will specify that they don't want a CV. All right, so just be very careful with that when you're writing off for a job. CVs don't always apply. Okay, and finally, when you've got a CV, try to keep it regularly updated. You'll probably find, as the months go on, you'll have new experiences, you might take part in voluntary work, you might get a qualification, etc., etc. So it always pays to keep your CV updated. So every time you do a new course, every time something new happens in terms of work experience, be it paid or otherwise, add that to your CV so that you know it's always updated. Good rule of thumb is when you're looking at your jobs, it's really best not to go any further than 10 years back because anything past 10 years is pretty irrelevant. So try to keep it within 10 years, preferably even 5. And also, finally, when you write your CV, don't write any more than 2 pages of A4. Again, like I said earlier, an employer, they're very busy people and they're not going to sit going through 3 or 4 pages of your life. Okay, so keep it relevant, but keep it as brief as you possibly can. And good luck with everything. As I say, if you look online, there is more information about writing CVs, and this was just a bit of a taster. So best of luck, and we'll speak to you soon.